say thank you again for giving us, oopsie, sorry.
No, you're good.
I just wanted to say thank you again for giving us the opportunity to present on behalf of our center and to Life University. This is a great opportunity, and I hope that somebody leaves, or at least somebody leaves here knowing something a little bit more than what they did not already know.
Thank you so much. We're really excited about about you presenting. What's great is we're going to record this, so then I can still get the word out to students. If they're interested, and things like that. So this is super awesome.
Okay, coolio. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road, okay?
All right, yes, sir.
All right. So to be started, my name is Dominic Paget. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology and my master's degree in applied behavior analysis. And currently I am a case manager here at Behavior Analysis Intervention Center. My colleague, Ms. Shanila Blakeney, she will be running the chat box. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw those questions in the chat box and she'll answer them to the best of her ability. And I also want to give a shout out to my director, Ms. Zakira Golden, for teaching us and giving us this opportunity to present on our center's behalf. So this presentation will be about ABA, or Applied Behavior Analysis, and our standard internship. Sorry, I'm having difficulties here. Trying to change my screen. All right. Sorry, I think this will
That's
be a little
okay.
easier for me to change the screen. So during this discussion, you'll be able to learn about our agency, learn about ABA therapy. Again, that is Applied Behavior Analysis Therapy, our national board, and we're going to review some of the steps for our standard internships. And no matter what, feel free to ask questions to gain clarity and a better understanding of our field agency. All right?
Yes.
So about us. We're a Behavior Analysis Intervention Center, and we provide therapeutic services to children, teens, and adults that have received a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. And I think it is important to note that here we do not provide a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, but we are referred to from different services, insurance providers, and different developmental psychologists, pediatricians, and things like that. So we primarily provide services in center, but we also have some clients that receive services in home and the community setting, as well as school settings. So like it says, we provide applied behavior analysis to our therapy to our clients, and we're located in Powder Springs, Georgia. So we're not too far away from Life University, probably about a solid 20 minutes away. So it's not too far, in my opinion. So what is ABA? Like I said, ABA is Applied Behavior Analysis, and within the literature is recognized as one of the most effective treatments for individuals who are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And again, it's typically done in the client's natural environment, school, home, community center, and even conducted within the clinic environment. I'd like to say that this school, while delivering services in the school setting, is very fun. A lot of it is very play-based. You definitely have to learn how to work in tandem with the teachers because we are a team. We're a team for our client. We are an advocate for our client, and no one wants to step on anybody's toes. So, yes. So here's another way to think about it. Applied. We focus on making socially significant changes in behavior. Another thing that I think is really cool about the term applied is more practical as opposed to theory-based. So, in school, you might learn about the foundations of behavior the beginning, because it's all a building block. But once something turns applied, it's in the field. And that's when, in my opinion, things get to be very fun, because you're not just reading about it and making different scenarios. What would you do? What would you not do? It is in the field, in person, and you're actually making a change to socially significant behaviors. So some of those socially significant behaviors we would call like barriers to learning. So some of the barriers to learning could be like a child is having trouble or difficulties remaining in their seat in school. So why is that a barrier to learning? Because if they're not sitting in their seat, then they might be disrupting the classroom environment for the teacher, and they might not be able to receive the same type of education that their peers are getting. So the behavior. Behavior means all things that are observable and measurable. This is also really important to note as well, because we like to use something called the dead man's test. If a dead man can do it, then it's not a behavior, you know? So if you can't measure someone sleeping, because if a dead man can be sleeping, but you wouldn't know he's sleeping. So again, measurable behaviors are things that we can see, such as clapping, raising your hand, getting up out of your seat, blinking, outburst, things such as that in nature. So the analysis portion of it is that we understand that behavior is influenced by variables in the environment. And that is a specific behavior we will increase or decrease depending on how we manipulate those variables. So when we say that the behavior is influenced by different variables, we like to talk about the ABCs of behavior, which in layman's terms is what happened before the behavior happened, what happened after the behavior happened, because sometimes people will say, oh, this person did this. Well, what happened before? What happened before the behavior occurred? So we look at all of those different variables and we take that into account. So, like they say, there's always more than one side to every story,
Yeah.
How is ABA conducted? So it's typically conducted in an instructional area, but it can also be conducted within the naturalistic setting. So an instructional area could be considered as a table that they're working at, or, in a classroom environment, their desk, things like that. Another instructional area more relevant to some people who are in the chat room right now could be while inside the college setting, inside your professor's classroom. That is considered an instructional area. An instructional area is anywhere in which instructions are given. Okay. So during our therapy sessions, we work on teaching some of the following skills: gross motor movements, which are movements such as waving your hand. Fine motor movements are movements such as making a thumbs up, a peace sign, a rock star sign, things that require you to use those fine, like those digits in meticulous ways, such as using the pincer grip. Imitation, some of the imitation targets that we might say are do this. And what that is, that shows that the person is attending to what the person is saying, the instructions giving, and able to demonstrate the action that was just performed in front of them. Functional communication, which is one of my favorites, and I believe it is the most important for me, because functional communication is being able to communicate the person's needs and advocate for themselves. One of the main goals of ABA is to be able to try to help our clients have the most independence as possible, as well as increasing the quality of life for the family and the client as well. So an example of functional communication could be a child is having a tantrum at a store because, the parent said that they cannot have candy, and so the child just throws a tantrum without saying anything, just throws that tantrum. Functional communication could be asking, why not? Why can we not have this now? Just advocating for yourself, being able to communicate those needs that you are trying to get. Social skills, another one of my favorite skills to teach are social skills, because we use social skills all over the place, all throughout life. No matter where you go, social skills are always needed. If you're trying to get a job, being able to communicate to somebody, being able to talk to somebody. Also, whenever, like, if kids are playing at school, being able to communicate with peers so that they can learn other things and learn different things that maybe one peer knows that another peer doesn't know. So I love teaching social skills. Always really fun, always really cool to see kids have that little light bulb go off in their head like, oh man, I can just tell them I don't want to play this game. Maybe we can play something else. You're right, man. We can play another game. It's really cool. And also another big important part is behavior reduction. So again, behavior reduction goes back to some of those skills, some of those barriers of learning, in my opinion, such as like having aggressions, outbursts, elopements, which is leaving the instructional area without permission, and essentially any behavior that you're looking to decrease. But we're always trying to decrease a behavior that is socially significant. And that's a very important note. All right. Are there any questions? I'll give a second for the chat box if anyone has any questions.
I don't think so.
Okay. So what is the BACB? The BACB is the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. It's a national licensing board that regulates the certification. And the BACB is very important. It is very important in this field because it establishes the practice standards, then it administers the examinations, provides ethical requirements, and the disciplinary system of each of its certification programs. So the BACB is very important because, in my opinion, also because of the ethical requirements. I believe in the ethical requirements because since you are working with a client, there is a power imbalance also. So it's also up to the behavior analyst or the therapy provider to not, how can I say?
Misuse the power.
Yes, to not misuse that power. So, one of the big things for ethical requirements is making sure we're always ensuring our clients' dignity, making sure that we're talking to our clients with respect, just like they are. And because we all know, like, they are another person. We all know that disabilities can happen to anybody. Nobody was asked to be born with these things. And so we have to treat everybody with respect no matter what is going on. So ethical requirements are very big for me. I always look out for those, because our friends are cool and we want to make sure we treat them as such. Some of the BACB certifications. We have the BCBA-D, which is board certified behavior analyst with a doctoral degree, the BCBA, which is board certified behavior analyst, the BCABA, which is a board certified assistant behavior analyst, and a RBT, which is a registered behavior technician.
Sir, I have a question for you really quick.
Yes.
Don't ABAs also work in business settings too, right?
Yes, we do work in the business setting.
Right.
That's called OBM, Organizational Business Management.
Okay.
It's a very, very, I've taken a couple classes on OBM. I think it's really cool, but I like hanging out with children.
Right.
It's always really fun. So OBM, essentially what I know, I have a couple friends who do OBM. Fun fact about OBM, Aubrey Daniels is one of the biggest OBM firms, and it happens to be here in Atlanta. So that's something important to note if you are interested in that route. So OBM, essentially the way I like to explain what OBM does, a lot of people like to say that they're possibly human resources. I definitely say they're not human resources in my opinion, because they come in and they try to assist the business. Because, so for example, it costs the business more money to fire somebody than it does to hire somebody, okay? And so like, if you're having a high turnover rate, that business is losing a lot of money in the long run, okay? And so an example also could be, say a company is having a problem of staff showing up on time. Because when the staff doesn't show up on time or they call out all the time, the business is losing money again in the long run because they hired that person with the projections that they're going to increase the company's revenue. So the OBM might come in and try to find out, okay, what's going on? again, why are people not showing up on time? Well, we know what's happening. The people are just not showing up. What's happening before that that's making them not want to show up? And then what are the consequences for them not showing up? Are they just getting a talking to? Are they getting a write-up? But what does the write-up lead to? Maybe it's not strong enough to deter them from not showing up on time. So an organizational business management person might look at different interventions to increase people showing up on time. So a fun example could be every time a employee shows up on time, they get a ticket for a raffle that's given at the end of every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks at the end of the raffle, a person's name is drawn and they have the opportunity to win a $75 gift card to Amazon. Okay, so they're doing that in the hopes of the people will start showing up on time to have more tickets so that they can have their name entered more times in the raffle to win that $75 Amazon gift card. And that's how OBM might use behavior analysis in the business field. And I always thought that was pretty cool. I think that's really fun, personally. Another way that you could look at an OBM is like, even in college, you know, sometimes you see some professors will say like, oh, if you show up every day, then you get extra credit at the end of the semester. They're trying to increase the likelihood that those students are showing up in order to gain that extra credit at the end of the semester. As you see, like behavior analysis and different, that behavior analysis can be used all over the place and different ways in which that you're trying to increase and or decrease the behavior.
I was asking because like the ABA, the principles behind it, I guess, I mean, this makes sense for organizational development, IO psychology. If someone got an ABA, I guess what I was saying, could they, if they have an ABA, they could potentially, that would actually be a good thing, even if they could transfer over their skills into the business world, obviously, basically what you're saying. So, okay.
Now, I will also say that IO psychology the foundations are similar, but the further you get into it, similar like a master's program, that's when the curriculum starts changing a little bit more because there's more literature behind, because there's different sets of literature behind business behavior and business management. But yes, the foundations, we all take the foundations of behavior, and then that's when it kind of starts branching off a little bit more as you get into different areas of it.
Right. Okay.
That was a great question. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, interns. Potential interns. So you'll have the opportunity to learn about BAIC and how we operate and the population we service. And you get the opportunity to shadow and observe case management activities. When I first got started in the field, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I was an intern and I learned so much and did so many cool things. You know, like my old mentor would say, like, you know, you should give it a shot, see if you like it. You know, always just give it a shot and see if you like it. If you don't like it, you know, there's many different areas of behavior analysis you can go into, but you should always at least give it a shot and see if you like it. And I got in here and gave it a shot and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I got to run a social skills program and I was like, this is pretty cool. The kids would tell me, they would say, well, what are we gonna do today? Okay, you guys have to make up the schedule together. You know, and at the beginning of the 6-month period, they would just sit there and not say anything, and then I would make the schedule, and then I just put like, oh, we're gonna do work, and this, and this, and then one day they were like, okay, can we go outside? Yes, yeah, we can go outside. Can we do this? Yeah, we can do anything y'all want to do. And then they just, after that, they kept starting to talk to each other about the different things that they wanted to do, you know. And for me, that was good because I was like, that's all I needed for y'all to do is work together and advocate for the needs and things that y'all wanted to do. You know, so it's really cool to see that moment happen. I know it took like 4 months, but you know, you get those wins in the field and you're like, worth it. That was totally worth it. So different things that interns will have the opportunity to do are learn and practice how to conduct preference assessments. You'll be able to learn and practice how to take behavioral and skill acquisition data throughout the Catalyst software program, practice how to conduct ABC data, advocate for the client's needs, participate in staff/community events, and become RBT certified. Which all of these things are really fun and, you know, they're really cool to be able to do, in my opinion, because if most people say they want to do psychology, this is kind of the thing that they want to do. Take data, try to modify behavior, being able to look at the functions of the behavior, the why behind it. What can we do to help this kid? You know, kid, teen, adult, what can we do? That's when it starts getting really fun. Because again, you're doing applied behavior analysis and you're no longer in the realm of theory. You just you know the theory, but you're applying it to the practical field. I give a couple seconds if anybody has any questions or anything like that to type in the chat box. All right, we are going to move on. So, how do you become an RBT? First, you're going to create a gateway account with our national board, the BACB. You're going to complete a 40-hour training. There are plenty of 40-hour trainings out there. All of them, you just have to make sure the 40-hour training you are going with is recognized by the BACB. They're going to complete a competency assessment with the BCBA supervisor. So the competency assessment that's when you will be, you'll have to take like a little interview with the supervisor, and then they're going to test your knowledge on these RBT 40-hour training, you know, because if you're going to be working with a population, if you're going to be working with anybody, you know, you need to be deemed competent to do so, because we do a very serious work here. And we also are really trying to help people out. So we want to make sure that everybody is as competent as possible when working at this center and in this field. So after you've completed your competency assessment with the BCBA supervisor, you're going to sit for the RBT exam at a testing site. Now, this is offered through the BACB, and there's plenty of testing sites out there. The RBT exam, I would like to say, it's not too difficult, just like with any exam, as long as you study for it, you should be fine. Then after you take your competency assessment, you know, you'll really have that solid foundation, so you'll know how to answer these questions the best way possible. Because sometimes there's no right answer, but it is the best answer in that scenario. So the steps to applying for our internship. You're going to send your interest packet to the email that's listed on the screen. So the interest packet must include a letter recommendation from a Life University professor, dean, or staff member, a resume, a cover letter, and a copy of your most recent unofficial transcript. So after you send those in, the human resources will contact each applicant for an interview at our center, and then the decision will be emailed to each applicant after the interview is conducted.